Okay. Well, so first, thanks everybody for the interest. This presentation, this short presentation, will be more about a conversation on some experiences that I have had in which the tooling of Java has helped me to solve difficult problems. I welcome everybody to ask questions in the middle. I actually enjoy diverging a bit and maybe going into a interesting topic. So yeah, that's it. So let's get started. So I'm a bit old. Actually, Java is something that I've been with Contact for more than half of my life. So this tells everybody how old I am. And basically, back in the day, around 2008, such a great year, I guess. Lots of things are happening there in my career, but I need to say that I was not used to many tools for measurement. When facing some issues, I would go to logs. Maybe I would increase the log level, try to figure out where time were spent. It feels a bit like looking at a needle in the haystack, and this was not ideal. But again, 2008, such a great year. By accident, I was working in a company that was using the JVM from BA. BA is a company that was later acquired by Oracle, and then Oracle acquired Sun as well. But BA itself had a really good JVM, and the JVM had some really good tooling included on it. I was having a production problem under a project that I was responsible. I had no idea where the problem was, but the only thing that I knew is it gets slow around lunchtime. It was a software for voice recognition, so a very interesting thing. And back then, there was a suite of tools in this JVM from BA. That was way ahead of its time. There was a set of tools. One of the tools was called Mission Control. That was basically a profiler. So we can tell, hey, profilers are all over the place nowadays. There are YourKit, JProfiler. We have like such good options. But Mission Control was different in a sense that it didn't interfere too much with the performance. If you're measuring if you're trying to get performance insights, where is my application slow? What's happening? The last thing you want is to get it slower. And sometimes you cannot reproduce it on your machine. You need to go to production. And getting production even worse is a no-go. Together with Mission Control, another thing that was really amazing on this JVM is the possibility to export runtime information. They called it flight recording information. So by luck, I landed a project that was using it in 2008. There was a performance problem. We collected 5 minutes of profiling data using the flight recording in 2008, so more than 10 years ago. And I was able to easily spot the method that was taking most of the time. And by the end, it was a simple database call that we could change the SQL and make things better. So this tool was super ahead of its time. I didn't see much about the, let's say, moving forward to other platforms. Even recently, we don't see this kind of thing available. But in Java, we do have some good options, some of them more intrusive than others. I mentioned before, Oracle bought BA. At some point, Oracle bought Sun. And there was a promise that they would get the best of both JVMs and put together. Because the JVM from Sun, the hotspot, was also really good, really battle tested. The JVM from BA, it was good for lower latency. but sometimes things would not execute super well. So if you're using BA, better to get your application fully tested again. So Oracle made the promise that they would get both of the best part of both JVMs together. And it turns out that it happened. So nowadays, Java 8 got the support for Flight Recorder, which means it is possible to export data in the format of Flight Recorder. This can be opened by the mission control from Oracle itself. This can be opened by Visual VM. If you get one of the latest versions, there is flight recording information. And basically, you have everything that happened as if you had a debugger running. So this was really nice. The only problem is it was not fully open source. You needed to enable the commercial support of your JVM. So it means you cannot use in production. It is still super useful to do in development, but production would be really nice. And guess what? Java 11 got it open. So if you're running Java 11, you can export flight recorder information. They say that it will interfere between of 1% and 2% of CPU usage when you have when you are collecting data. From my experience in this project and in some other occasions, sometimes you don't need to collect much data. Sometimes 1 minute is enough to get insight where the problem might be, if you don't have other possibilities, of course. So the nice thing about Java and about Flight Recorder as well is we are talking about something that is really old, and old in this case means mature. We are dealing with a platform that is battle tested. The same for collecting profile information. The Flight Recorder is well battle tested, super amazing tool. I highly recommend to get familiar with it. I don't say left things enabled on production, of course. This is not the case. But having knowledge in such tooling is always an advantage from the way I see it, at least. So yeah, that was the back in the day story number 1. If anybody has any questions, feel free to ask. Otherwise, I'm going to continue with the back in the day history number 2, which is a bit more recent. And also a good tool for discovering insights of what your application is doing, where might be a bottleneck, and so on and so forth. So, so 2017, I have moved recently to the Netherlands. I was working in a project that had a batch job that was a bit too slow. Basically, the amount of hours in the day was not enough to run the job a few times. This was something that was already there. You can guess, legacy code, difficult to understand what's going on. You're new in the project, so it always takes a while to understand where might be the problem. You see, sometimes you're looking at some code that is ugly. You tend to blame the ugly parts for the performance issues. Everybody does that. And then you refactor things, you redeploy, and nothing changed. Sometimes it is even worse. So I struggled a bit to get some clues where there might be a problem. We're using Java 8 in production. Unfortunately, not with the commercial license by the time. And basically, I needed to collect information, and this was a bit difficult. This event, the company that I was working got even in the news, like mentioning, hey, those guys, they didn't deliver things for a while. This is terrible. So there was a bit of pressure to solve those things. Refactoring, etc., was not working. there would not be enough time to rewrite the test and so on and so forth. So again, the approach was to collect information from production. The second tool that I want to talk about today is not exactly a tool. It is a format. It is a graph format. So it is called flame graphs. What are flame graphs? If you get during some time frame, let's say let's gather 30 seconds, 5 minutes of all of the stack traces from your application running, and you group those stack traces showing, let's say, the bottom of your stack trace, it is likely to be similar. So you have a main application that is calling a bunch of a main method that is calling a bunch of other methods that might be dealing with other objects and calling yet further methods. So you tend to have a stack trace that looks similar in the bottom, as we can see here in the green part, Apache, Tomcat, Utilnet. So we do have these stack traces grouped here from the bottom up. So everything that is similar will be together. When we have a difference, we are going to have a ramification on top of the flame. So this is the flame graphs in a nutshell. If you look at the page of the person who created flame graphs, you have a deep explanation about it, what motivated to do things this way. I am not smart as most of you guys watching this talk for sure, and I am not smart as that person. However, I know how to see where is the bigger part. And the thing that is amazing on the flame graphs is when you have a performance bottleneck, it will show as a large part of the graph 17. With less than 5 minutes checking the flame graph, I was able to find a method that was doing repeated calls in the database without changing anything. I was able to cache that call, and the few hours that the batch job was taking was reduced to 5 minutes. So, like, it was that amazing. 5 minutes of work to solve something that I was struggling for months, thanks to the flame graphs. The amazing things that happened after that was by showing the flame graphs to other people. It was quite easy to get even junior developers solving performance issues. So in that company, there were like at least 3 occasions that junior and mid-year developers they have found issues that were in the company for years, and they have fixed in a simple way with precision. So the second tool that of choice that I want to talk about is the flame graphs. For that reason, so both Flight Recorder by analyzing everything that happened, and flame graphs by getting runtime information in a way that is easier to read. Those things, I'm pretty sure, will can help everybody to tackle bottlenecks that you might have on your application, or even seeing things that you don't imagine, like, oh, I never thought this is the part that is actually slow. So yeah, that's what I wanted to talk today. My preferred tools for tackling performance issues, Flight Recorder and flame graphs. In the article, there are a bit of more description on how to extract the flame graphs, which profilers to use, and so on and so forth. So yeah, I hope everybody can get some useful information from this. You can guess I don't speak any Romanian, but I'd like to thank everybody for your time, and I hope you find some useful information. For me, it is an honor to be talking to such a strong audience. So thank you.
Thank you, Luis. It was a great presentation, and that brings me to remember the days when I was also, running some Java servers, and always we were trying to do a lot of performance tests. How you are running, performance test? I mean, I don't know, sure. Do you have custom tools? You run them from time to time, or how it's working on your side?
So basically, there are different types of performance tests going on Java Core these days. So we try to be as simple as possible, which means we gather timestamps between the start and the end of some data processing. So even by looking at the persistence, we can have some idea on how much time it took for enriching some data, for processing some data, for example. We do have a set of performance tests that runs as part of the build itself, and always depending on the production issue, we do utilize both the flight recorder and the flame graphs. There was one occasion that I was super busy. I could not tackle something important myself. Teaching the tool to some of my developers, he was able to tackle the issue, to fix it in a way better way than I would have done myself. There is like the day-by-day stuff is basically build automation, but we go to those tools once we have something outstanding. Like it is difficult to reproduce production conditions in the build environment. We get close to that. But of course, it is never the same. There will be always something going on. Some guy on Reddit mentioning something about the GameStop stocks, and then you get some issues that you didn't plan for example. So, yeah. Did I answer the question, actually? Feel free to ask more.
Let me see if our audience is pretty sleepy today, but yeah, we encourage them to ask. They can also, they can enter live with us, but this will mean they will have to go on the stream event. Okay, so one more. I'm just remember, we were, writing some time ago, doing a synchronization server, and we were measuring the transaction per second, right? And just before Christmas, we released at the time we released the new version. We were working like waterfall, no agile at the time. And I remember that someone the problem is when you perform the test each day or very often, and someone is doing those tests and it's sending those emails more or less automatically. People go and don't necessarily read them anymore, right? You don't read anymore the emails if you receive it each day, right? And the guy who was responsible with this performance, even if he was in the same office with us, right, he didn't tell us, hey, there is a 1 transaction per second only from 100. He just sent the email, right? And nobody saw this. And just at some point, some were working with some Japanese branch, and they saw, hey, what's happening there? Why is saying 1 TPS? Oh, there's not a problem. We should, it's probably an issue there. And the fact was real. So we went there, and the thing is that it was caused by some extra logs we put there without checking that the logs are enabled. But we got a lot of work during the Christmas time at that time, during those days. Did you got any issues like? Yeah. Did you got any issues like this, or what you are doing with the logs, or how you?
Yeah, so, regarding the logs, for sure, I've seen that happening. Even recently, some of the applications I have disabled tracing that somebody forgot enabled, for example. What I find, one thing that is not covered in the article, but also useful for people dealing with production systems, is to have the metrics over time and to look at those dashboards because, let's say, if you get those numbers, you cannot read those things, but you can easily see spikes, you can easily see alerts going off. Increasing the observability of the applications on production and even on development environment, making sure you're looking at the right metrics. Those things are useful. enabling Prometheus is such an amazing tool and something so easy to use. Like nowadays, every library has support for Prometheus endpoints. If somebody complains about, hey, I don't have a Prometheus server, well, you run a Docker container on your machine and scrape the application. Like you don't have many excuses here for saying there are no insights. And even for Java, you don't have time to change your application. There is the JMX exporter. So we do have like such an amazing amount of options these days.
And what you are doing at those time, I'm not sure if this is still happening. Are you tuning the Java parameters for Java executable when you are running in production?
Yeah. So basically, the tuning is part of the development process. So let's say prior to the first deployment, we need to specify which options we want, memory settings, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
Those things we revise them very often by looking at the dashboards. So, for example, hey, there is memory pressure over here, so we might increase the memory, or even sometimes false alerts. Somebody thinking, we do have a memory pressure here, let's increase it. Actually, no. The problem is that we have too much memory here. So every time the GC runs, it is wasting some CPU cycles. There are some conservative settings in a sense that are preventing the GC from running too long, and so on and so forth. It is done in a per application basis, basically.
Okay. So, Luis, I think we are fine with the questions. We'll continue the discussion during the panel, okay? So, thank you very much. I don't have the applauses machine, but yeah, it was great.